We'll go ahead and get started. My name is Hiram McMeekin, and we appreciate y'all being here today. If you haven't done so already, please put your title and position and then your institution in the chat. We would greatly appreciate that. We have a great presentation here to help us, more readily understand our data, accept our data, and then help our peers and colleagues understand that they need to accept it more as well, okay? So we appreciate having Miss Elizabeth here. My name is Hiram McMeekin. My pronouns are he, we, him, and his. I currently serve in a dual capacity as half-time as the Dean of Student Learning at Central Carolina Community College and half-time as the Director of Pathways and Equity at the North Carolina Student Success Center through the North Carolina Community College System. And so again, we're here to have Elizabeth from the North Carolina Community College System. She is here and is going to provide a great and in-depth overview of how we can use data to improve our learning and as well as our the way we offer things. Okay, so thank you, and Elizabeth, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you so much, Hiro. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here today. As Hiro said, my name is Elizabeth Stoddard. I am a business intelligence analyst at the Community College System Office. I work on the research and performance management team, and I'm here to walk you through one of our interactive dashboards where you can learn how to use your disaggregated course data and take that first step into making improvements in your courses based on the data. So hopefully you all can see my screen here. This is just kind of an agenda for this session. I'm going to start with a short introduction to myself and my team and what we do and our dashboards. Then I'm going to do a quick overview of the dashboard that we will be talking about today, that we'll be looking at today, just to kind of orient you to the dashboard and how to use it. And then we'll have some hands-on learning, because I know that oftentimes the best way to learn how to do something is to do it yourself. So I'll just have some questions that I've prepared, and then I'll give you all a few minutes to kind of walk through the dashboard to answer them yourselves. And then I'll take over and show you how I would use the dashboard to answer that question. And then if there's time at the end, I have a few discussion questions that we can talk about as well. And if you have questions during the presentation, feel free to type it in the chat. I think Hiro volunteered to monitor the chat for me, so I appreciate that, Hiro. And you can interrupt me during the presentation with questions. If you have questions during like the hands-on part of the session, feel free to, if you're comfortable, feel free to unmute yourself and ask the question, because other people might have the question as well. So you can unmute yourself, you can type it in the chat, but either way, we will make sure that we get all your questions answered. So that's my next slide. So just a quick introduction into who I am and what our team does. So I am Elizabeth Stoddard. I'm a business intelligence analyst on the research and performance management team, and my team is responsible for reporting data from the colleges. So we report at the federal level, we report at the state level, and we report data back to the colleges. And that's primarily what my job has been over the last 2.5 years that I've been here. I've been responsible for creating and managing our public-facing dashboard initiative. So I'm going to walk you through how to access our dashboards. And then, as I said, I'm going to take you on a more in-depth tour exploration of one dashboard in particular, where we're going to look at course outcomes disaggregated by student demographics. And I'm going to make these slides available after the presentation so you all can see all this information yourself. The next few slides that I have here are just kind of step-by-step how to get to our dashboard webpage, but I'm going to do it from the web. I'm just going to show you how I do it. But later on, when you get these slides, you'll have those step-by-step instructions if you need them. And you can follow along. In fact, I encourage you to follow along if you have, the monitor space and the capacity to do so, especially for the hands-on learning part, so that you can kind of go into the dashboard yourself to answer the questions that I've prepared. And you can start following along whenever you'd like. But to get to our dashboards, there are several ways to do it, but this is the way I always do. You can start at the community college's system office homepage, which is www.nccommunitycolleges.edu. And then click on this little icon in the corner with the 3 horizontal lines. You can click on Analytics and Reporting, which is in the middle column there. And this is our Research and Performance Management, RPM homepage. This top left section is our kind of the dashboard section. If you click on Read More here, you will get to our dashboard homepage. Our dashboards are organized here by theme, and clicking any of these headings here will bring up a set of dashboards underneath. So we have, these are our dashboards related to access. This theme is, about who of our of the community college potential population who is actually coming to the community colleges. So we have 4 dashboards that kind of give that information in different ways. We have a number of dashboards here related to enrollment and FTE, performance measures, and then, faculty staff dashboards, Perkins dashboards, if any of you are involved with CTE Perkins, dual enrollment. So there is a lot here. I encourage you to explore all of these dashboards if you are so inclined. There's definitely a lot of information, a lot that you can learn on these dashboards. And we're just going to look at one of them today, but if you ever want kind of a deep dive into any of our other dashboards, feel free to reach out and let me know, because I'm very familiar with them and I'm happy to help however I can. So the dashboard that we are going to be looking at today is under this theme, which is curriculum, student progress, and success. I just clicked on that one, and then it's going to bring up a number of different dashboards on this list here. A bunch of them are related to our performance measures. We have a dashboard here that details credentials awarded. We have a grade distribution dashboard. The one that we're doing today is this third one on the list, curriculum course outcomes by student demographics. And so I'm just going to click on that, and it's going to open the dashboard. And let me just go back to my PowerPoint, make sure I got everything. So we accessed the dashboards. This is the one that we're getting, curriculum course outcomes by student demographics. And so now I'm going to go back over here to the dashboard. I just wanted to make sure that I told you everything I meant to tell you. I'm going to give you just a brief kind of overview of the dashboard and how you can use it, what you can find here, and that'll kind of lead into the next part of the session, which is when I'm going to ask you some questions and give you time to answer the questions yourself. So this dashboard opens on this kind of overview page. This is our outcomes overview. If you haven't seen any of our RPM dashboards before, I just want to kind of orient you. All of our dashboards have a number of tabs across the top here, and I'm going to show you each of these tabs in turn. All of our dashboards have this kind of sidebar over on the right-hand side. This is where you can usually find filters. You can find, your legends over here, any notes about the data. We always list our data source on this page, so or on this part of the dashboard. So pay attention to the sidebar if you need to make any changes to your view. And then this dashboard in particular is curriculum course outcomes. So we're looking at curriculum courses here, and we're looking at outcomes, which we define as your total enrollments, your total graded enrollments in your courses. Graded enrollments are all enrollments excluding AU and CE records. So that's what we mean by graded enrollments here. Success rate, which is defined as grades of A, B, C, or P, divided by your denominator, which is the graded enrollments. So for our dashboard, success equals A, B, C, or P in a course. The average course grade, which is the GPA on a scale from 0 to 4, and then the withdrawal rate, which is the number of W's divided by the total enrollments. And this dashboard, it kind of lets you go down in it lets you take kind of 3 different paths. So most of these views show everything at the college level. So your total college success, your total college course grade and withdrawal rate. And then we also go down to the subject level, and I'll show you what that looks like. And we go down to the course level, and I'll show you what that looks like when we get here. So just kind of keep that in mind. Those are what we're going to be looking at. Sometimes we're looking at the college level, and then I'll show you what the subject level and what the course level looks like. And the 3 student demographics that we disaggregate this dashboard by are sex, so male versus female, race, ethnicity, and age range. So I will show you what that looks like as well. So how to use this dashboard. We can start by selecting a college from this first filter up here that says select college. And I asked Jairo ahead of time if I could use Central Carolina, and he agreed. So thank you, Jairo, for letting me use your college as I kind of walk through the functionality of this dashboard. So I'm going to select Central Carolina from this top filter here. You'll notice that the font of the filter is in red. That means that whatever selections we make on a filter where the font is red, those selections are going to carry through for the rest of the dashboard. So you only have to select it once on the first page, and then you'll see, everything else in the dashboard filtered already to that selection. If we wanted to compare our selected college to another college, we could use the select comparison filter here, and you'll see the list of all of the colleges in that list, or you can keep it at Ncccs so that you're comparing just to the state level. Most of our dashboards where we kind of look over time, we allow you to select the time frame that you want to look across. So you'll notice that right now we're looking across reporting years, 1819 to 1920 to 2021. We can use this select time frame filter to look instead at fall terms or summer terms or spring terms. So I just changed that to fall, and now we're looking across fall terms. And then this last filter is show trends by, and this is where we can start kind of digging down into our student demographic. So I'm going to say, instead of showing trends overall, which is what we're seeing, just overall enrollment success, I'm going to say show trends by sex. And this is going to disaggregate my my data here by female and male. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit to make this. Sometimes that kind of distorts the view, so I don't want to zoom in too much, but hopefully that just made it a little bit easier for you to see. The red line here is the line that shows the female data, and then the blue line, bluish teal line, is the one that shows the male data. And you can click on either of those categories on the legend to actually highlight the data on the graphs. One thing to mention here is that because this is kind of outcome data, which, we're talking about success rates and withdrawal rates. This is considered sensitive information. So we have, my office takes a number of measures to protect student privacy when we're displaying any sort of sensitive information on a dashboard. And one of those measures is that if there are fewer than 20 students or fewer than 20 enrollments in a course or in a group that we're looking at, then we don't show the data for that group. And I'll show you what that looks like in a couple pages, but I just wanted to mention that. And that's noted on the dashboard here that outcomes are suppressed. We're not showing the data when the total graded enrollments is less than 20. So right now we're looking at these graphs disaggregated by sex. We're looking at Central Carolina on the top and CCCS on the bottom. And here you can kind of start comparing not only males and females, but you can compare your college to the system or another college if you selected another one. So for example, we can see, looking at success rate by sex, we can see that in fall 18, males and females were at Central Carolina were almost on top of each other, but females had a slightly higher, or males, sorry, had a very slightly higher success rate than females. And as we're moving through the three terms, that gap has kind of widened between males and females, and it has switched. So now females have a success rate of 74% in fall 20, and males are at 69%. So that's a 5% gap that we're seeing now. So you can kind of follow those trends. Let's see, the next, let me show you. You can also disaggregate by race, ethnicity, and that'll bring up 8 different categories here. And again, you can click on the categories on the legend to see the actual data. You might notice that we're seeing the numbers for like the rates for success rate and course grade and withdrawal rate, but we're not seeing numbers over here for total enrollments. That again is one of the measures that we take to protect student privacy. We take a lot of steps to make sure that a user of this dashboard, since it's public facing, anyone can access it. We take a lot of steps to make sure that users can't track students down to 1 or 2 students. So I know it makes it a little bit less useful to kind of not show some of that data here, but that's one of the measures that we have to take for student privacy. But you can see you can use the axis to see kind of ballpark how many students, how many enrollments you have, and then you can definitely see the trend lines, whether they're kind of staying steady or increasing or decreasing. So you can use the axis to see that kind of thing. And the last disaggregation that we have here is by age range. So here we have, one grouping for our less than 18 students, which is probably mostly our dual enrollment students. And then we have this 18 to 24, more of the traditional age, and then a 25 to 44 grouping, 45 to 64, and then 65 and above. So that's kind of an orientation to the what you can learn on these first few pages. The second page here is going to be very similar. The same graphs, we're still looking at Central Carolina and Ncccs. But here, the difference is that we can drill down, we can go down to a subject. So I'm gonna click on this select subjects filter here, and we'll see the list of all of the subjects that were offered, I think, across the system in these fall terms. You'll notice that we do differentiate developmental English versus college level English. College level is the greater than or equal to 100. Developmental is the less than 100. And we do the same thing for math. We have the developmental math versus the college level math here. And then you can, just click on one of these. I'll click on nursing, and then you can see the trends in enrollments and success and withdrawals for that particular subject that you chose. And we're seeing it disaggregated by age range right now, but we can choose any of our other disaggregations, race, ethnicity, or sex, which is what we're seeing here. This is showing us that there were many more female at Central Carolina and at Ncccs. There were many more females enrolled in nursing than there were males. And in fact, we can see that there were males enrolled in nursing, because we're seeing that on this, that's what this line right here is telling us, that there was some enrollment from males in nursing, but there were fewer than 20 enrollments. And I know that because we're not seeing the success rate or the average grades or withdrawal rates for males. And that's because there were fewer than 20 enrollments. And so we have to suppress the actual outcomes for that group. The next tab is very similar, except now we can go down to the course level. And by course, we mean like ACA 085 or Bio 111. We don't go any further down than course level. So we don't go to the section level or the faculty level. And that is because for one thing, the groups would get too small. There would be many, many more, except at some of our largest colleges. Probably many of our sections would have fewer than 20 students. And so you really wouldn't be able to see very much if we went down to the section level. So we're keeping it at the course level for this dashboard, just to to allow you to actually see more. So I just clicked on Bio 111, just so you can kind of see what it looks like. If I disaggregate by race, ethnicity here. So this is another case of, like, for the graded enrollments, we're seeing the orange line, which is white students. We're seeing a blue line, which is a known category. So we can see that there were enrollments, but there were fewer than 20 enrollments from students in this unknown racial ethnicity category, because we're not seeing the success and the outcomes for that category. And same with, all but, when we're looking at this graded enrollments, all but the white students and the Hispanic students had less than 20 enrollment. So that's why we see those lines over here, but we're not seeing them on this side. The next tab is going to be a little different. This is a college comparison tab, compare peers. And again, just to orient you, we have this view at the overall college level, at the subject level, and at the course level. And I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. But what we're seeing here is the success rate for the overall college success rate for all NC community colleges for a 3-year aggregate. We can choose a specific reporting year in this filter if we want to, or we can look at the 3-year aggregate. And the yellow circle here, that's Central Carolina. That's the college that I selected at the beginning of the dashboard. So that just kind of shows you where your selected college is. And you can do a number of different things with this view that kind of allow you to see the data here. So, so for one thing, you can sort the graph in some different ways. We're looking at it alphabetically, but I can sort it from high to low. And so this is telling you which colleges had the highest and the lowest overall course success rate. So A, B, C, and P across the system. But we can also kind of dig down into some of our student demographics here by using these filters. And I like this view, these three views that I'm going to show you here, because we can, like on the last one that I showed you, we could either look at the data disaggregated by sex or race, ethnicity, or age range. But here we can start seeing some of those intersections. So we can look at like female students. I just clicked female in the filter for sex, and then we can also choose a specific race, ethnicity. So I'll say Hispanic here, and so these are, it's not changing very much, but let me see if this will change it. So it's kind of hard to see, but well, the dots updated every time I changed one of these selections in the filter. The dots updated to show the success rates for this specific population. So Hispanic females in the 18 to 24 age range. The gray line, not sure if y'all are able to see this very easily, but the gray line across the, that's going horizontally here is the overall NCCCS success rate. And for, the overall NCCCS success rate, and the gold dotted line right here is the average success rate for our selected demographic population. So there's not that much of a gap right now for this population, but the overall NCCCS success rate is 75%, and the overall success rate for Hispanic female students in the 18 to 24 age range is 72%. So you can use these filters to get down to specific demographic populations, and then you can kind of see how that population compares to success as a whole across the system. So I think this is a pretty powerful view if you know what you're looking at. And I've tried to, put notes in the title here, and, when you hover over the data on the graph, you get a lot of information about what you're looking at. So don't feel like you have to remember everything I'm saying, because I tried to, make that information, I try to make it clear enough on the dashboard so that you always know what you're looking at. So as I said, this view is at the college level. The next view is going to be the same, except now we can get down to a subject. And on the next one, we can go down to a course. So let's see what that looks like. So let's look at, I'll do bio again, because I think that's probably offered at most of the colleges. So now we're looking at I haven't made any selections for demographics. So we're looking at the overall success rate in Bio 111. And you can kind of see the variation among all the different schools here that are listed. One school here, one of our smaller schools, doesn't have a data point here. They don't have a circle. There's a little asterisk on the bottom. That's an indication that they had fewer than 20 graded enrollments in Bio 111. So we're suppressing the data for Pamlico for this view. But here we can, you can do all of the same filtering that I showed you before. So we can look at females, and I know it's really hard to see, but those lines did actually change a little bit. So females have a slightly higher success rate in Bio 111 than the overall NCCCS population in Bio 111. So the overall success rate for NCCCS was 69%. The success rate for females was 70%. We can narrow that demographic group even further by choosing like Black females. And then we'll see, for one thing, we'll see that a lot more asterisks along the bottom here, which is an indication that these schools have fewer than 20 Black female student enrollments in Bio 111. And we can also see that the average success rate for our selected population, Black females, was lower at 57% than the average Ncccs success rate, which was 69%. So that's kind of how you can
Elizabeth?
use. Yeah.
Hey, question.
Yeah.
This is, and I can't remember right now, so that's why I'm asking this question. It doesn't break it down based on modality, right? Like how it's offered?
Not on this dashboard. I have another dashboard that's almost identical to this one, but instead of looking at student demographics, it looks at course characteristics, one of which is modality, online versus not online. But
Okay, and that's the only two it breaks down, is just, and it doesn't do hybrid?
now, I think on that one, hybrid is included in the, yeah, those are the only two it looks at. Online is 100% online, and not online is everything else. So that the not online would be the hybrid.
Okay, all right, thanks.
But that's a different dashboard. It's on the list and on our homepage. It's the one called Course Outcomes by Course Characteristics, and that's where you could find that disaggregation.
Okay, and then one more question. If there is a college that doesn't offer a certain course, that would just show up as an asterisk, right? Saying that they don't offer it? Okay,
yep,
all right,
you got it.
sure. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, you got it. All right, any other questions before I go on? All right, thank you. So there's just a couple more pages here that I want to show you before we kind of go into the hands-on stuff. So, and these next two pages are going to be pretty similar. This one is a compare subjects view. So what we're looking at here is a list of all of the subjects that were offered at Central Carolina in the 2021 reporting year. And if you see a subject on this list, but there's no circle, that means that the subject was offered, but there were fewer than 20 enrollments. And sorry, I kind of got ahead of myself, but the circles that we see, that's the success rate for that subject. So here you can compare the success rates for all of the courses at your all of the subjects at your college. And we can sort this graph either alphabetically, which is how we're seeing it, or from high to low. So this gives you that view of, the subjects for this, reporting year, the subjects where you had the highest success. In this case, it was motorcycle mechanics with a success rate greater than or equal to 95%. That's another one of our privacy measures that we take, is that if a data point is greater than or equal to 95%, we don't show the actual number, we just show greater than or equal to 95%, which is what you're seeing. But in any case, that was the subject with the highest success rate. And then you can just kind of scroll down the list and see where all of your other subjects fall in this list. And like I said before, the ones at the very bottom here are subjects that were offered but didn't have any, or had fewer than 20 enrollments. The next few pages are where we can start doing some more gap analysis. So I just clicked on the tab or the page here for sex, that this is going to show us a disaggregation by sex. And we're still seeing our list of subjects over here, but now we're seeing the success rate for males and females. And this one has a cool feature where you can sort the graph either alphabetically or by the gap. And sorting it by the gap will sort it by the gap, the difference between the group with the highest success rate and the group with the lowest success rate. So in this case, there are only two groups, males and females, so it's easier to see here. But this subject, web technologies, is the subject that had the highest difference in success between males and females. And that you can see over here, that gap, that difference was 21%, with females showing higher success and males showing lower success. And then as you scroll down the list, you'll see those gaps getting smaller. You'll see the gaps decreasing. And then you can also actually look at the actual gap in this column over here to see it kind of decrease as we go down the list. So, these courses down at the bottom had very small or almost non-existent gaps between males and females. And then you'll probably see some at the very bottom that had where it says not applicable and it only has one circle. This is a case where there were fewer than 20 female enrollments in the course for this subject, barbering. There could have been 0 and there could have been 19, but in any case, there were fewer than 20. So that's how to read and interpret this graph. And we have a similar view disaggregating by race ethnicity. And here, if I sort it by gap, you'll see there's more circles because we have more groups here. You can click this button to highlight the highest and the lowest rates. So this will show you that for this course, which is welding, this was a subject that had the highest gap in race ethnicity. So the group with let me figure out how to put this. This course had a gap of 51%, and the black students had the lowest success rate at 31%, and white students had the highest success rate at 82%. That was the largest gap. Biology had the next largest gap. So you can kind of go down the list for your school and see this data for your own school. Clicking on this button here to highlight the highest and lowest, it also kind of calls out, if you see any trends, like I'm seeing for the lowest, I'm seeing this dark blue circle often, which corresponds with Black students. So you can kind of see which groups you're seeing more on the lowest success rate versus the highest success rate. So that kind of calls that out for you. And then the last page here does the same disaggregation, but by age range, And again, you can sort by the gap, and you can see that as well. The next tab here is going to be very similar, except now we're looking at courses instead of subjects. And if you are thinking that, like, oh my gosh, my college had so many courses, this is way too much, you can filter this list to a specific subject. So if I only want to look at I keep doing biology because I know most colleges have a number of biology courses, so I keep picking on that. But I just selected bio from my subjects filter, and so now that kind of just narrows down the list. So now I'm only seeing the success rates for biology. And here, when we're looking overall at the college, there's not an option to sort by the gap because there's no gap to look at. There's just one success rate. So we can sort it high to low. But then when we start looking at sex, race, ethnicity, and age range, that's when we can start sorting by the gap. And unfortunately, if you select a subject, you do have to select it. You do have to make that selection on every page, unfortunately. But this is where you can start doing that gap analysis at the course level. And
so, Elizabeth,
yep, go ahead.
So another question. Because I understand the looking at the gaps, but is there any way that they can include the N as well? Like how many students are taking it like total?
Yeah, I'm looking into a way to put that on this view. Right now you can get to it on the dashboard, but not on this page. So if you're
Yeah,
looking at Bio 155, you just have to come back here to this Outcomes by Course tab and find Bio 155 on the list. And then you can see that probably wasn't a great example because there weren't a lot of enrollments, but you can't see the actual number again, but you can kind of get a ballpark of how many enrollments you had by in each group.
yeah,
But I'm looking to see if we can put it on here, but it's hard because of our data suppression policies and student privacy policies. So
yeah. Well, I was just
so
thinking, like, even if some of them had it, because, you know, if there's a course that's at the very top that has a small gap, but the N barely meets the threshold, let's say it's 21 students in that, that's a
mhm.
whole lot different than a smaller gap in like English 111, it has 1,000 students, right? So I just
Yeah,
wonder, like,
absolutely.
you know, if there was a way just to eyeball the N on it, doesn't mean that, you know, you're going, but the ones that meet the threshold, at least we could see that.
Yeah, that's really good feedback. Thank you.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'm trying to I have that on my list to look
I
into
got you. I
as I'm
got you.
working with
Well,
this dashboard, and I appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. I don't want to make it sound like I'm ungrateful. I
No, no, no.
appreciate everything that y'all are doing. It's just trying to figure out if there's another way to tell that story. So
Yeah,
that, you know, again, if we have a large number of students in a particular course, and whether that gap is, if it's small, then that's something to celebrate, right? If it's huge, and it's
absolutely.
something, you know, we need to look into.
Yeah. And yeah, the data tells a different story depending on the number in your group.
Yeah,
I totally
yeah.
agree. So thank you.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
I
no
think
problem.
that's important to mention too. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Um, let's see. So I know that was a lot. That's the end of the dashboard overview. This last page is just kind of our metric details page where we explain what you can find on the dashboard, which I just did. Before I move on to the next part, does anyone have any questions that I can answer real quick? No. Okay. All right. Well, feel free to type them in the chat or to unmute if you have anything. So for this next part, I have a few questions that I have here on these slides that I'll kind of go through with you, and then I'll give you, you know, a minute or so to go through the dashboard and see if and get the answer to the question yourself, and then I'll take over and show you how I would get the answer to that question. And these slides that I'll share have all of the kind of step-by-steps for how to arrive at the answer. So you'll have that afterward as well. But my first data-driven question here is looking at college versus NCCCS success. For this question, you're going to start on the Outcomes Overview tab, which is the first tab of the dashboard. And you can compare the success rate of your college with the success rate of NCCCS in the 2020 to 2021 reporting year. And that's just a little note that if you hover over the data point, you'll get the actual exact success rate. So I'll just give you like 30 seconds, 60 seconds to try to navigate that and do it. And again, any questions, let me know. You can unmute yourself or type in the chat. All right, so this is kind of the solution to that question. And oops, let me just kind of walk you through how I would get the answer to that question. So starting on the outcomes overview tab. Sorry, I'm just trying to pull up the question on my other screen. Starting on the outcomes overview tab, I'm going to go back to showing the overall trends. And I'm still looking at Central Carolina here, and I want to compare the success rate for my college with NCCCS in the 2021 reporting year. So I'm doing Central Carolina, I'm doing NCCCS as a comparison. My reporting years are my time frame, and I'm looking at overall trends, and I can see that Central Carolina's success rate was 74% versus NCCCS, which was also 74%. So in this case, they were the same. But if you're looking at a different college, you might have seen a different number there for your own college. Let's see, my next question here, compare trends across reporting years again in the average course grade for males and females at your college. And then how do trends at your college compare with NCCCS trends? So I'll give you another minute or so for that one. Okay, so let me show you how I would answer this question. So we're looking at reporting years, and we're looking at the average course grade. So it's this column of graphs here, and we want to compare males and females. So I'm going to do show trends by sex here. And so I think we're seeing something similar at Central Carolina as we are at NCCCS, where the success rate or the average course grades for males and females are very close together. Females have a very slightly higher course grade than males. But let's see, at Central Carolina, the average for females is 3.06. The average for males is 2.99. So overall, those are higher than the course grades for males and females at NCCCS, although the trends are the same, with females a little bit higher than males. The overall is higher at Central Carolina versus NCCCS. All right, any questions about that? Okay. Let's see. This next one is going to have you look at the outcomes by subject tab, and you'll look at the success rate for developmental English students disaggregated by race ethnicity across fall terms. And you can look at how your school compares with NCCCS. What trends do you notice about the success rate by race ethnicity? Were there groups that were more successful over time and least successful over time? Okay. Sorry if I'm going kind of quickly, but I know we only have a few minutes left, and I want to just be able to show you everything that I can show you here. So for this one, I'm going to go to the Outcomes by Subject tab, and I know that I'm here because I see this Select Subject filter down here, and I'm going to filter to English Developmental, English less than 100. And we want to look at students by race ethnicity. So I'm going to do show trends by race ethnicity here. And so, yeah, I think right off the bat, when I'm looking at Central Carolina, I can see that there were enrollments by, it looks like, every racial ethnic group, but a few of them had fewer than 20 enrollments. So we're seeing the lines here that they had enrollments, but we're not seeing success rates for those groups. We're only seeing the success rates for the Black students, the Hispanic, and the white students. So that's just right off the bat. And I'm looking at reporting years. I forgot to change it to fall terms. But it's going to be a similar picture here looking at fall terms. And I think that's true comparing to NCCCS as well, where there were more enrollments looking at the Hispanic, white, and Black students as compared to all of the other racial ethnic groups. And then looking at success rates, we can see that Black students have had a lower success rate across these 3 fall terms in developmental English than Hispanic and white students, although it does look like that gap is lessening through these 3 fall terms. Everyone, it looks like, had a decrease, or all 3 of the groups, I mean, had a decrease from fall 19 to fall 20. But I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click on Black and white on my legend over here to pull up the data points. So if I'm looking at the gap between the lowest success and the highest success, I can see that in fall 18, that gap was 20%, 49% to 69%. That's a gap of 20. In fall 20, that gap was 12%, so 42 to 54. So that gap is lessening over time. Whereas at the state level, the gap between those 2 particular groups is widening over time. So that's an interesting data point to know. We're not seeing anything for average course grade because we're looking at developmental here, and so we don't have the average course grade. But then you can see the trends in withdrawal rate as well. And you can see that the Black students had a higher withdrawal rate going from fall 19 to fall 20, which might be related to COVID, because there was a lot of chaos at that time, and we saw a lot of different things on all of the college campuses. So again, you all know your own colleges and campuses the best, so many of these things that the dashboard shows you can put into context for your college, that other people wouldn't be able to do as well as you yourselves at the colleges. I think that I will go quickly through the last couple of questions, because I know we're short on time. So I can just show you the question, and then I can kind of walk through how I would answer it. But for this one, for my next question here, we're going to compare the success rate across all institutions in Math 171. And then we're going to compare the success rate in Math 171 across all institutions for Black male students. And I think I showed you how to do this earlier, so I'm just going to quickly go through it here, but we can go to this Compare Peers tab. And this is the one where you can see all of your institutions, and the course that we're interested in is Math 171, which I can type into the filter, and that'll pull that up. So I'm going to click on it. And let me reset all my filters. I'm just going to go back to all race ethnicities and all sexes and all age ranges. So this is just showing us the success rate in Math 171 overall across the colleges for all students. We can see that the average was 64%. But then if I kind of filter down to Black males, we might see these lines change a little bit, the circles move a little bit. So we're seeing a lot more schools that had fewer than 20 Black male enrollments in Math 171. And then we're also seeing the average success rate for our Black male population decreased compared to the overall Math 171 success rate. So for Black males, it's 47%, which I'm seeing by hovering over this bar, versus the overall Math 171 success rate, which was 64%. And of course, you can pick out your college and see if you had more than 20 enrollments, Black male enrollments, and then see where you are in the graph here. I think I'll skip over the last question because I only have 2 minutes left. But again, I'll send these slides to Jairo after the presentation so that you all can get them and kind of explore on your own and have this kind of cheat sheet with the solutions and the step-by-step instructions for using the dashboard. And we probably don't have time for discussion, but these are just the questions that I thought would be helpful to think about. So as you see this data and learn how to explore it, you can think about how you can use this information to minimize those gaps between demographic groups. Think about what other information you might need in order to start moving that needle and minimizing those gaps. I know that faculty level information would be helpful. Right now, we don't have that in a public facing format like I've been showing you, but I know that is, something that is desired at the college level. So we're thinking about maybe being able to put that into an access controlled space so that it's not public. But think about other things that you could use that would be helpful. And then I encourage you to share this with your department if you find it useful. Then encourage others to use the data as well, and to always reach out to my office, rpm@nccommunitycolleges.edu, with any questions or feedback, or if you need help using the dashboards or need help interpreting what you're seeing on the dashboards, please reach out, and I or someone from my team will be happy to help you. And I'm sorry for going right up against the hour and not leaving time for questions, but I'm happy to stick around if there are any questions that I can answer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This was very good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Elizabeth, thank you so much for, again, leading this discussion and showing folks how to use this useful tool. I think it, allows everyone to dig a little deeper and figure out, everybody's dedicated to student success, but then how can we be better at it? And so I think this gives us the tool to be able to do so. And so we appreciate you, taking your time and sharing your expertise and knowledge to help others, so in the same way that you're empowering everybody that was here, then they can then empower the folks around them to definitely empower more students, right? So thank you for doing your part in this work, and we really appreciate you being here. And for those of you, if you could please, I put the link to the post assessment in the chat. If you could definitely complete that for us, it would take maybe 3 to 5 minutes, but we need that data so we can learn how we can get better, and what we offer and how we offer and when we offer and what you may want to see in the future. So if you could please fill that out. And then I also took Elizabeth's email address and put that in the chat as well. So she is open to you contacting her and with any questions you may have and any feedback. So I know she likes to answer those kind of things because that allows her to get better at this as well, right? So we're all learning together, and so hopefully you'll take the charge and want to do the same. So thank you. And then Dolores, did you want to say anything before we sign off?
Yeah, I just want to say to Elizabeth, just again, the dashboard of information that she shares is just awesome.